videos from the internet that's going to make you question everything you know. Let's just start.
These identical twin sisters were pure evil. In the quiet town of Bloomsville in 1952, there were two identical twin sisters named Taylor and Dory. They seemed like ordinary sweet girls,
she's tall.
but behind closed doors,
The other one is
they
so
were
short.
evil. One day, a new girl named Mary Jane moved into the neighborhood, and the twins grew jealous. Mary quickly became popular, and the attention shifted away from them. The twins didn't like that. One evening, they invited her to a tea party in the woods. The next day, Mary was reported missing. Weeks passed, and rumors began to swirl. The town grew suspicious, but no one could prove anything. Until one night, the twins' mother named Anaconda heard them whispering in their room. She pressed her ear against the door. What she heard sent chills down her spine. "We need another one. Mary wasn't enough." Terrified, their mother opened the door to confront them, only to find the room empty, except for two dolls on their beds. Identical dolls with the faces of her daughters, and a third one with Mary's face, staring right at her. The twins were never seen again. Some say they still live around the area in the forests, looking for their next victim.
What is the creepiest thing your kid has ever said to you?
Well, I was in bed with my 3-year-old reading her a bedtime
By the way,
book,
she
and
hesitated
she said,
before saying well.
"Here are those black people." I'm like, "What black people?" She's like, "The black people with the red eyes, right there." And she points, and I look, and I say, "There's nobody there." And she says, "You can't see them?" I'm like, "No." And she's like, "They're right there." I'm like, "What are they doing?" She's like, "There's a line of them. They're just walking by and disappearing into the wall. They come every night." "You really can't see them?" I mean, she's 3 and a half. She was flabbergasted that I couldn't see them. I immediately ripped that child up, put her in my bed, and then I slept with the full light, not a nightlight, a full light for over 4 years. I mean, and she continued to see them until she was about 5 or 6, and she still remembers seeing them to this day.
What?
Daddy!
What?
There's somebody in the window, Keith's window!
No, there's not.
She heard a ticking clock.
Don't go.
La ciudad de Phoenix.
This video was taken just moments before a nephew and his uncle got beheaded. The nephew's name was Felix Gamas Garcia and his uncle was Barnabas Gamas Castro. And these two men had a serious problem. They worked for one of the most dangerous organizations on the planet, the Sinaloa Cartel. And as you can probably guess, this story does not have a happy ending. The video starts off with both men shirtless, sitting against a rundown wall. Their hands are cuffed behind their backs. But guys, what really got to me is how calm they were. Their faces didn't have any emotion and they weren't struggling or screaming. It's like they already accepted their fate. The nephew was interrogated first and he admitted that he sold substances in Phoenix, Arizona, but he got caught and was deported back to Mexico. And when he got back, he was given a new job, delivering messages between members, specifically to someone known as El Cholo, a higher ranking lieutenant under none other than El Chapo Guzman himself. Barnabas, the uncle, then said that he got involved with the because of his nephew. He was more of an errand boy, running small tasks for a tiny sum of money. He mentions that for each job he did, he only earned 300 pesos. Guys, that's about 15 US dollars. Anyways, as the video progresses, both men give warnings. They say, don't steal from the car. If you see something, don't speak about it. And then the uncle looks into the camera and says something chilling. He tells us, the viewers, do not get involved in this life. It's not worth it. Our lives are worthless now. And guys, this is when things got really bad. A man in a military uniform steps into the frame. He's holding a chainsaw and without hesitation, he begins cutting off the uncle's head. Blood sprays everywhere, even covering Felix, who's sitting next to his uncle. And guys, this was all done quickly. It was done in just a few seconds. And even though it was brutal to watch, the uncle had it easy. When it came to Felix, his death was much more brutal. For Felix, they used a small hunting knife and it was slow, painfully slow. They started sawing at his neck and you can hear it. You can hear him choking, grasping for air, making these awful sounds. It takes about 2 minutes for them to finish and the entire time Felix is alive, feeling every single second of it. The video ends with a man holding Felix's head to the camera before placing it on his torso. I stumbled upon this video when I was 13 years old and when I first watched this, it shocked me. How about you guys? How old were you when you first saw this video? Anyways guys, if you want to see more videos like this, then follow for more.
This woman is hiding from an intruder on her rooftop. Melora Rivera noticed that this man broke into her home and she realized she could not be in the home with him. She did not know his intentions. So she ran up to the rooftop and locked the door behind her. He broke through the lock and followed her onto the roof. One of the neighbors saw this and took a picture. Melora Rivera was on the phone to the police and they came there in less than 2 minutes. The man that broke into her house and followed her, named Christian Hicks, is a 29-year-old that the police deemed as mentally ill. Now, luckily, the police were able to get there in less than 2 minutes because who knows what would have happened to Melora Rivera if they didn't. They were able to get Melora Rivera down by a ladder, and they were able to convince the man to also come down. They arrested and charged him with burglary. This is just one of those cases that ended up being very good in the end for everyone involved. Christian Hicks has a $50,000 bail. I believe he couldn't post it, so he's in jail now, I think. And honestly, I'm glad, because I don't know if you guys can see this, he has a sick look on his face. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments, or if you want me to talk about something specific that you're interested in, comment that below and I'll try to reply to it. And reminder, my videos are for entertainment or informational purposes only.
This story comes from Mexico, and honestly the ending is fucking crazy. There's this guy who's going to school to be a teacher, and that is also where he met his girlfriend. The last thing they need to do in order to graduate is social working, which requires them to go to small rural areas of towns and teach the children in those towns. So he got lucky and he got to teach a school that was close by where they lived. However, his girlfriend got a very rural area to the point where she was staying there for the week and then coming back home on the weekends. So he says that it's been like 3 or 4 weeks where she goes, stays there for the week, comes back on the weekends, but every time she comes back, she just looks different. She looks tired. She looks like she's going through it over there. He sees that she's jumpy, that she's nervous, so he decided to ask her if she was okay, and she tells him, no, it's just nothing you have to worry about. I'll deal with it. It's just things in that school. So he tells her, oh, if it's something's difficult, maybe I can go to school with you. Just let me know and I can help. And she was like, no, nothing you need to worry about. So he says that time passes, and you would think that his girlfriend would come back looking confident, like taking care of everything, but every time she comes back, she looks worse and worse. She looks tired. She looks like she's scared of something. She's paranoid. He mentions that when the girl's parents heard that she was gonna have to drive far, they actually bought a car for her, and he noticed that when she would drive, she started to really not care. Like, she would hit curbs, she would brake really fast, like her car was looking worse and worse too. So he just decided to like ask her what is wrong and tell her that you need to tell me, like, we need to fix this, what is going on. And that was when she told him, it's because they send me to a town of witches. When he hears her say that, he almost starts laughing because he took it as like these people were evil, they're bad, and he starts laughing and telling her, I mean, there's bad people everywhere though. Is that really just the problem? So she looks at him like, what do you mean there's bad people everywhere? I am telling you that they send me to a town of witches. And that's when he finally took in what she was saying, and he was like, wait, what do you mean witches? So she tells him that they send her to a town where all of the children in that school have moms who are witches. So she explains to him that these moms, the witches, they want to have control over their kids, and because she's there to educate them and discipline them, they're not taking that lightly, and basically she's become enemy number one to every mom in that town. And he was like, well, why does that affect you so much? Like, just try to get along with them and try to finish up and come back home. And that is when the girl opens up her backpack and starts taking things out. She takes out like pieces of wood that are tied together. She takes out another thing that's like bound with a ribbon, and she explains to him that there's been several occasions where she goes into her class and on her chair are dead animals that she has to take out. She says that on more than one occasion when she finds those dead animals, there's like paper attached to them with really weird sayings, so she knows that it's them trying to do something to her. So that's when he was like, okay, so they're threatening you. She tells him, no, I think that it's more than that. I honestly think that they're doing witchcraft on me. She was like, I don't know what I'm dealing with and I am not comfortable going over there. He tells her, well, you have to go, because if you fail this, you're not going to graduate. They're going to suspend you for a year and you're going to have to repeat that class. So he was like, keep going and let me see what I can do on my end. Maybe there's an opening where I'm at, but you have to keep going because you cannot fail. So the weekend ends and she goes back to that town, and he's still like worried. He's trying to figure out what he can do. He's contacting different people. In that moment, he receives a phone call from his girlfriend, so he answers the phone. And when he answers, all he hears is, I was right, they're witches, I was right, please help me. So he asks where she is, and she tells him, so he tells her, drive to this plaza and I'm gonna meet you there. So he says that when he gets to the plaza where they're gonna meet, he sees sees that her car had crashed into a tree. He sees that his girlfriend is laying on the ground next to the car. When he gets closer, he sees that she's awake, but she's laying there just talking to herself, and he can't make sense of anything that's coming out of her mouth. And he thinks to himself, like, oh my god, like, what if these ladies gave her drugs? Like, what if they did something to her? Because she was not all the way there. So he says that he goes to pick her up, and when he does that, he finally sees her face. And when he does, he says that her eyes are all blacked out. It was so unexpected that he almost froze, and the only thing he could think to do was start praying. However, when he started praying, she started laughing at him. And after she was laughing, she started saying, you're not gonna be able to do anything. She's gone forever. And then she just drops to the ground, started convulsing and saying so many bad words that he had never even heard her say. So he's in shock. He's never had to deal with any situation like this. So he gets his phone and calls his family. And when he does, they're like, take her. And he's like, well, what if she doesn't want to go with me? And they're like, you need to force her in that car and take her back home. And that's what he did. He forced her in the car, drove her back. They even left her car back there. They did not care. This girl ended up in a psych ward. The family basically told him that he shouldn't see her anymore because they don't think that she's crazy. They think that she's possessed.
Yeah.
And he listened to his family. That's what he did. He cut her off. Till this day, has never gone to search what happened with her. He doesn't know anything of her because he literally never contacted her or her family ever again. He believes that these witches did something to her that caused her to become possessed.
Now, this is scary. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but there's a theory. Well, it's more like a religious theory. I saw this TikTok, and he was a preacher, right? He was saying, what if God is actually water? Look, watch this.
What if water is God?
And that would mean God is both in us and all around us. That God is both above and below us. Why a woman's water breaks when we're born.
Crazy, right? But wait, that's not it. You know how we say God is everything, right? In this sense, like everything around us is what? It's water. There's water in the air that we can't see. There's water inside you. There's water inside me. There's water in every single thing that lives. Now, when there's a lack of water, if you look at a desert, if you look at a wasteland, right, what is there usually? Death. Death because of lack of water. It's very hot, like hell. And now check this out. In the Bible, when Jesus said he was tempted by the devil, where was he? In the desert. He was looking for water.
The scariest conspiracy theories.
That makes sense.
Historians and researchers believe that Atlantis was a real place, a highly advanced society with impressive technology and culture. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato wrote about Atlantis in his dialogues, describing it as a powerful kingdom that existed around 9,000 years before his time. According to the legend, the city was situated on an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and was destroyed by natural disasters and catastrophes. There have been numerous archaeological discoveries and ancient texts that suggest the existence of a lost civilization with advanced knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. Some of these artifacts date back to the same period when Atlantis was said to have flourished. There is also many geographic and geological features that could match the description of Atlantis in Plato's account. So what do you think?
This is where it gets really freaky. Albert Einstein says, I'm not sure which weapons the Third World War will be fought, but the Fourth World War, they will fight with sticks and stones.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's what Albert Einstein said. Day one of AI taking over. And it showed this like laboratory towards this very highly advanced artificial intelligence, but it was contained to its own server. AI figured out with like a Roomba vacuum that's the only thing it could figure out how to connect to. So it put all of its information onto the Roomba computer, and then that allowed it to connect to the Wi-Fi, which allowed it to connect to everyone's phones, everyone's laptops, spread instantly across the whole world. Now it was in control of power plants, all this stuff.
Geez.
It was in control of 3D printers, of manufacturing things to help build itself.
Yeah.
But it was doing it silently with no one knowing because it was just staying under the radar until the one time it was like 40 days into it, it decided, yep, I don't want humans anymore.
Now this is
what?
It's said, but not proven, that every single Disney princess is supposed to like represent a disorder. Psychologists did a study and they said in every Disney princess there's a clear disorder that they have. Firstly, Belle was captured and put in a castle. So this is called Stockholm Syndrome, which means you fall in love with your captor. That's why she fell in love with the beast, because he is the one that captured her. Also, if you notice, Ariel has a big ship, and there's so many things around her, so she's a hoarder, and that's a form of OCD. She has so much, like, stuff on her ship, but she doesn't throw it away. Another one is Alice, like Alice in Wonderland. She sees caterpillars walking around and imagines a lot of things that aren't there, which is basically schizophrenia. Crazy, right? Elsa and Anna, they're really reckless. Elsa is the cold sister who has a short temper, and Anna is the warm sister that is kind all the time, which is why the sisters are thought to represent bipolar. Did you ever notice this when you watched?
I have a theory that the Mandela effect is used to see how much of history can be altered in front of our eyes. Here's a prime example of one of that. There's this woman on TikTok who was going crazy because she swore the Fruit of the Loom had a cornucopia logo. And to the point that even Fruit of the Loom themselves put a timeline of all their logos and it never had a cornucopia. And this woman went hard. Her therapist told her, yo, you need to chill out. You need to just drop this. So she went through all of her old clothing, and lo and behold, she found a shirt with the Fruit of the Loom with the cornucopia logo on it. That shows me, like, yo, I think the Mandela effect is an operation that's running around right now to see how much of history can be altered right in front of our eyes without us noticing. And then they gaslight the public and be like, nope, this never happened. Damn, I didn't think about it like that. Yeah, bro, people are thinking about it very little, like, oh, it's the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstein Bears or Jiffy or Jif's peanut butter. No, it's much larger than that, guys. They're using this to see, oh, if we can get people to forget certain primary things about their childhood, what can we do with history?
Conspiracy theories that will change your perspective on life. The last one is the most shocking. The Big Bounce theory. It states that if the Big Bang occurred from nothing, then there will be no changing fact the next time the universe is created. This means that when our universe ends and another is created, it will be created in the exact same way with the exact same galaxies, planets, and species. If this is true, our entire universe is in an endless cycle of creating and destroying itself, and you will be born into every universe endlessly. You can actually see who blocks you on TikTok. It's the first person that appears when you click share and more. The real reason Apple removed the headphone jack was to try to remove Square Pay systems as a competitor for Apple Pay. Ancestry DNA and the rest of those Ancestry websites are run by the government to have access to people's DNA across reference crimes, etc. The food we have been eating in the United States is a huge part of the mental illness going on today. Like and follow for more interesting yet mind-bending conspiracies.
One time he locked me in containers with his shipment of kids. There were kids in there that didn't speak English. There were kids that were sick and that were already dying. There were babies. There were babies that were 6 years old, and I'll never forget them just crying, and everybody was just staring at them. Everybody was just staring at each other. Nobody knew whether or not to move. I was freaked out. And I got up and I held her. And they opened the truck and they took her from me. Because they said she was already sick. And they killed her.
Whoa.
Her name was Bailey.
Even the Smurfs together and had Smurfette. She was the only female of the Smurfs. So it's a good question. Well, there's not a question in the Smurfs. They tell you that Gargamel.
This is mind bending. Like, I'm confused right now.
This is why I think we're in the year 1727. Hear me out.
I told you that nearly 300 years of history never actually happened. That the year 2024 is actually the year 1727. Welcome to the phantom time hypothesis, the theory that claims we've all been living in a historical lie.
Yep.
Sounds crazy,
It could
right?
be true, though.
But according to historian Heribert Illig, almost 300 years of the early Middle Ages were fabricated by powerful rulers and the Catholic Church.
Well, why?
That means key events like the reign of Charlemagne and the early Islamic conquests never really happened.
Whoa.
So, why would anyone want to manipulate history? To boost their power, of course. Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII are all accused of creating this phantom time to rewrite history and make it fit their agendas. But here's where it gets really weird. There's evidence that backs this up. Historians have noticed that there's little to no reliable archaeological evidence from this period. Take buildings, for example. Structures that should exist from the 7th to 9th centuries, almost none.
Wow.
It's as if that time period left no mark on the world. Documents, suspiciously absent or unreliable. Some calendars, like the Gregorian calendar, don't quite add up either. It's as if those 300 years were squeezed in later. Think about it. How much of what we know about history is just written down and passed along? And how easily could powerful figures alter that narrative? If 300 years could be fabricated without us ever knowing, what else could be hiding in plain sight? Maybe the medieval period wasn't the dark age we've been led to believe.
Maybe.
Because it didn't happen at all. Of course, this theory has its skeptics. Many historians point out that even if some records are missing, there's still plenty of evidence that suggests these centuries existed. Things like astronomical data don't support the missing years theory. But what if those were altered too? Phantom time, a complete fabrication of nearly 3 centuries, is a conspiracy that raises questions about how much control rulers, historians, and religious institutions might have had over our perception of time. Whether you believe it or not, it forces us to ask one haunting question. And what else could be a lie? If this blew your mind, hit that like button and subscribe for more mind-bending conspiracies.
Stay weird.
I've read every fucking theory on how they built those pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza has 2,300,000 stones in it. Some of them are they weigh between 2 and 80 tons. Some of them are cut from a quarry that's hundreds of miles away. These things point, that pyramid is shaped perfectly. Like, if you fucked up like a 1/4 inch there, a 1/2 inch here, by the time you get to the top, that thing's a mess. But meanwhile, it's not. It's perfect. It's also perfectly aligned to true north, south, east, and west. And they're not really sure how old it is. They think they date it to 2,500 BC. But that's just because of organic particles that they pulled from inside stones. But they also say that they probably could have sealed those stones and resealed those stones over time. You're dealing with like a gigantic mystery of unfathomable proportions.
Ain't no way everyone here is a real person. Life is a simulation and a legitimate professor has proved it. James Gates, a theoretical physicist at MIT with 2 bachelor degrees and a PhD, found literal computer code embedded in the most fundamental building blocks of reality called strings. Now, string theory is a tough one, but I'm gonna break it down for you in a way that an 11-year-old would understand. So if you don't get this, hey, go back to grade 5, bro. Alright, so we got my boy Einstein's theory of general relativity, which is basically just a theory of everything big. Planets, gravity, the universe, all the way back to the Big Bang. Then we got the new kid in town, quantum physics. This is the theory of everything small, like particles, atoms, and molecules, where the general laws of physics, like gravity, don't apply anymore. The same is true the other way around. Quantum laws don't apply to regular-sized physics. So we got general relativity, everything big, and quantum physics, everything small. Like, yo, dig. But both of these realms have the same parent, the Big Bang, at which point everything that is now big used to be small. If the small can become big, then quantum and general relativity need some sort of theory that can unify them. That is string theory. What happens to the big when it's small? What happens when you zoom into an atom? You see protons and neutrons in the center with electrons all around it. Now, what about inside a neutron? Even smaller particles called quarks. So how deep does the scale go? Conventional science will tell you there's nothing inside these quarks. But string theory suggests there's a tiny filament or a string of pure energy that exists inside of them. And just like the string of a guitar vibrates and creates different sound based on its shape and tension, the strings in string theory vibrate, but instead of sound, they produce matter in the form of particles. This completely changes the way you look at the world. Every particle in the universe is just a string vibrating at a different frequency, and every vibrational pattern has its own associated particle. So if you break anything down far enough, we're all just energy vibrating at differing wavelengths to form matter. Although it's still just a theory, this would link general relativity to the quantum realm and form what is known as the theory of everything. Okay, yeah, cool. Now where is this computer code found? When Dr. James Gates took a look at a set of equations derived from string theory, he found binary code, error-correcting code used for compressing data on a computer. A sequence of ones and zeros, the same code that is used by popular search engines, which, according to him, who has a PhD in theoretical physics from MIT, doesn't just resemble computer code, it literally is computer code. Meaning, if we break matter and energy down far enough, we eventually find compressing computer code etched into the very fabric of reality. So, who wrote this code? Are we living in, dare I say, a simulation?
Like you could fit the whole population of the world in the United States. They're saying you could fit them in Texas or Alaska.
Standing shoulder to shoulder, the entire world's population can fit within 500 square miles
of Los Angeles.
Of Los Angeles.
What? When I first started flying, I would always just look out the plane and go, it's empty. I go, we should all have a plot of land. When you fly across the United States, dude, there's only people in LA, New York, Miami, and San Francisco. Everything else is empty, dude. That means this overpopulation bullshit is a myth.
Did you know every single time Beyonce begins one of her world tours, a massive music icon dies? This theory begins with the king of pop, Michael Jackson. Beyonce embarked on her I Am Sasha Fierce World Tour starting in March 2009, and Michael Jackson died in June 2009. Right when Beyonce announced her The Miss Carter Show World Tour in 2012, the Queen of Disco, Donna Summers, died. Then right before embarking on that same world tour, Queen of Vocals Whitney Houston died. It gets crazier because in June 2014, when Beyonce and Jay-Z began their On the Run world tour, legend of soul music, Bobby Womack, died in June 2014. Literally, right as Beyonce began her Formation world tour in April 2016. Prince died also in April 2016, right after Beyonce and Jay-Z began their On the Run to world tour in June 2018. Queen of Soul. Aretha Franklin dies in August 2018. Seeing her pay tribute to a falling music icon at each of her tours is getting a little bit eerie. And the craziest part is that fans were already predicting who was going to be next, right when the Renaissance Tour was announced. Beyonce began her Renaissance World Tour in May 2023, and Tina Turner died in May. And right on cue, Beyonce paid tribute to her. People are asking Beyonce to stop touring.
I'll just give you one example. If you go to McDonald's, anywhere in the world, you will find French fries, or chips as you call them, and you will find that they're always made from the same potato, the russet Burbank potato. This is a potato from America that's unusually long and difficult to grow, but that's what they want, because when you're McDonald's, you like those red boxes with a little bouquet of very long chips. It looks really good, and so they insist that all their potatoes be russet Burbanks, and they further insist that they have no blemishes at all. There's a very common defect of russet Burbank potatoes called net necrosis. And you've seen potatoes with a little brown line sometimes, or spots that come through it. Well, McDonald's won't buy them if your potatoes have them. And the only way to eliminate that is to eliminate an aphid, and the only way to do that is with a pesticide called Monitor that is so toxic that the farmers who grow these potatoes in Idaho won't venture outside into their fields for 5 days after they spray. And then when they harvest their potatoes,
this is so dangerous.
Put them in these atmosphere-controlled sheds the size of a football stadium because they're not edible for 6 weeks. They have to off-gas all the chemicals. So
it's not edible for 6 weeks?
Kind of chip leads to a certain kind of agriculture.
Oh, I understand. That's why people complain about Americans getting, being obese and having a lot of cancers, because this is so crazy. What? And seriously, these videos were truly mind-bending, and I hope you enjoyed it, because I did, and we would come back with something exceptional again whilst we continue on this journey. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also share with your friends, and also click on the notification bell icon so that any video that I post, you will be the first to get it. Adios amigos, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.